It's time to start eliminating some truckers from the Area Truck Series playoffs. Tonight we head to Michigan, and the biggest track left on the calendar, 2 miles for 95 laps, means 190 miles around before we eliminate 4 of our 12 playoff competitors and move on to the second round next week at Iowa. Kyle Heyer joined by Connor Horn tonight for the first elimination round of effectively 3 that will consist our playoffs here. The last 5 rounds of the season, we are now in the last 4. And after Bristol last week, the 73 of Jake Nichols has advanced himself through, Connor, but there's still a lot of still math left to math here for the rest of the drivers in that top 12.
There's math left to be math, and there's chaos left to be chaos tonight. And there's no other better, no, I don't know about better is the word, but there's no other place really in this round anymore because there's only 2 races. But this is, let me just get to the point. This is one of those tracks that breeds chaos. And we've seen it in the last 2 seasons, especially when Area started out this truck series. It was not the case, but the last 2 seasons, 11 cautions and 10 cautions. We see some crazy winners in those 2 seasons. Ricky Hard won under caution, season 4. And season 5, it was Travis Beckner, James Scioli side by side in turn number 1. It did not work. We had that huge crash. David Weishart picked up the scraps to get through an advance, or not advance, but he at least got his first win of the season at Michigan. He's going to need that magic tonight. He's 7 points below the cut line. He's not the only driver who needs to do a lot of work tonight.
Yeah, there's still a lot of work left to do. 95 laps here. This is a style of racing that lends itself to some big accidents. We've seen high caution counts here in the past, and if we go to our stats, our average is 6 yellows for 20 of those 95 laps, 15 lead changes, just a lot of action and a lot of chaos. We saw some of that last night as well, and you pointed it out right in the intro. Past winners of this race, Danny Ware, Cameron Hearn, Cody Cutler, Ricky Hardin, and David Weishart. In particular, that 33 would really like to solidify himself. Well, I don't see him on the board. Oh no, he is P3. He's so high up, he's ready for action tonight.
Yeah, you were looking for him lower. How rude of you. But yes, he's someone who runs pretty well here, and it might sound like it's easy to run here. Oh, some drafting track, not much off the road time. No, that's not the case. It's really hard to stay up at the front here. You need to pull strategy like I was able to last night to get to the front. Passing is going to be at a premium even in these trucks. When you get a run, especially near the end of a race, you have to take it. You cannot wait and sit in line because then you're going to be put 3 wide top, 3 wide middle. You're going to be put in situations you do not want to be in. So you have to pick and choose your battles wisely, and qualifying goes a long way towards that. You need to qualify up at the front for a race like this. You do not want to be involved in whatever happens near the back of the field at the beginning of the race.
And here's a driver that, when I was updating my number board colors, surprised me because of the issues that he had at Bristol. He is one of those below the cut line in the yellow. So just for those that might have not been on board the last couple of weeks, the blue numbers on the ticker, those are the ones that are currently above the cut line. It does not live update, but those are the ones that come in above the cut line. The yellow are the ones below it. The green, of which there will only be 1 per round, is the driver that has won the first round and advances automatically through to the next one. So Jake Nichols has no stress, no worries tonight. He can just focus on playing with his teammates and focusing on snagging another victory.
And then you got, obviously, those guys in yellow who are below the cut line who need to do some work. Thankfully for Noel, it's not as bad as it could have been because Bristol had so much chaos as well. Noel is 2 points below the cut line, as is not Matthew Bappy, but Case Lakatos is also 2 points below the cut line, and he had a good race at Bristol, but he just wasn't able to earn enough points to get above the cut line. Then we talked about David Weishart, 7 points below the cut line, and then Danny Ware needed a great night. He was one of the first drivers out. He's basically must win tonight, but I think you mentioned he's a former winner here, so that bodes well.
And there he is in that number 98, the Simrap Market car. Ricky Springer goes up to the top of the board as only the first driver to lay down a time. Seth Knoll goes a little quicker. Travis Beckner's on track, just coming to the green flag on his lap. And for a guy like Travis Beckner, you know, I think at this stage of the season, you look at the point standings, he sits 3rd, and his season thus far has been getting a lot better. Let me just read you the finishes that Beckner has had this season. It started with a string of 30th, 15th, 10th, 32nd, 16th. First top 10 came in the 6th or 7th round of the season at Sonoma. Then it was 20th, 13th. But since Montreal in September, 3rd, 15th, 3rd, 9th, 3rd. So he is on a hot streak at the right time. And I think he might just be able to continue that tonight.
We'll see if he can. This is a track that he'll probably be able to run pretty well at. He'll come across the line. 184 miles an hour puts him 5th, so he'll be probably somewhere in the top 15 for sure. But this is a track he can run well at. Like we said, season 5, he was in contention for the win until contact with the 7 in the turn number 1. And obviously he had contact with the 1 last week. He's the same Travis Beckner, but that also means he has the same amount of speed. And it's going to be the aggression that keeps him at the front in a race like this, as Cameron Hearn slots in 17th in his blank 67. But he's a driver that you always got to deal with at these drafting type tracks.
21 getting up on the racetrack. Pacey Wygent's on his hot lap here. David Weishart is coming to the green. Now here's some other interesting stats about the past winners of this race. The most laps a winner has ever won here in the Truck Series, or has ever led, was David Weishart. 18 laps led in season 5 last season. Now here's the real interesting stat. The most laps that a driver took the lead from at the end, 7. Danny Ware, season 1. The average leader takes the lead at the check, or to what goal? Wow, I need to rephrase this. The lead changed in the last 7 laps every time we've come here. Average 3 laps to go is when that lead changes. There we go.
The final lead change of the day.
Thank you. That was really what I should have done.
And it's not really a surprise. I think that when Ricky Harden won, it was on kind of tire strategy. Weishart last season took the lead with 3 corners to go, as he's going to go 6th. That's a good start for his season. How about just Anna Sogak? He just went top of the board in the 88, or at least he had. So he's going to steal a bonus point away from Seth Knoll. And Knoll could have really used that, as Eric Weiland goes 14th position. You got Jonathan Evans, non-playoff driver, but he has super speedway wins this season. He slots into a 5th position. Miller 7th, Slaughter 9th. So those non-playoff drivers are really going to shake things up tonight, like they did last night a little bit as well. So it's going to be pretty important for these drivers to stay up at the front.
So 3 drivers will not qualify: Bryce Senesac, Tyler Hallman, and Drew Jua. And at least for Senesac, he will have an EOL to serve. Chris Seidenfeiden, if he is present, which he does not appear to be, would have to serve in a drive-through penalty. And a note from Jacob is that Justin Anasogak's qualifying positions at Michigan: first, second, and 1st in trucks. Wow, 5th straight front row start. Yeah, that's wild.
I did not know that, but I mean, he's, like we said, it's not exactly a super speedway here, but it is a track where you're not going to have that much off-throttle time, and that draft's going to be important, so it's not that surprising that he's going to be good at qualifying here, but we'll see if he can get his first win at this track.
Well, cars are going to head on the racetrack for a few minutes here before we get rolling. Race fans, be sure to subscribe to the Area iRacing Twitch channel. As a subscriber, you'll have Area iRacing emotes to use in the chat, and you can earn double channel points that you can use to redeem for free merchandise for just $5 a month. Join today at twitch.tv/Area iRacing. We're up in the North Country here, Midwest technically, but sort of North Country. We got the Canadian flags blowing in the wind. And take a look at our weather information before we get rolling tonight. 70 degrees in the air, nice and comfortable. 81 degrees on the racetrack, low humidity, and not a ton of wind, which has a factor here, Connor, when it is windy.
Yeah, depending on what parts of the track it's going in, it'll make a difference. I could have swore it was swirling last night, because you could tell it was kind of snug and tight, wouldn't turn in turns 1 and 2, but if you got into turns 3 and 4, it felt like it got looser and the rear end was just coming out from under you no matter what you did. So it might have played a factor last night. I can't confirm or deny as we look at those points. That's what you'll see get live updated tonight. It is not updated their starting positions yet, but this is what we got to work with. No Lakatos, Weishart can point their way in anywhere. Almost certainly needing to get a second career win at Michigan. John Hall is not mathematically locked in, but he's surely pretty much locked in. Beckner doesn't have to do too much tonight, but then Matthew Bappy on back, no one's really safe.
Really, from 4th on back, any mistake. We've got 30 trucks in this field. If you make a mistake or you get caught up in a collision, it could change the trajectory of your championship.
Think about Peyton Howell last night. He came into last night 24 points above the cut line. He was one of the first drivers out because of damage, basically, and he had to sweat out the rest of that race. And, anything could happen with internet as well. We saw Adam Cabot. He was top 10. He was almost certainly going to advance. An internet drop, whatever happened, he's out. And that puts, I believe it put Michael Curhan in as we look at our Zoom call ease, I guess. Travis Beckner on the cam, as he always is, with all those diecast in the background, repping Superior. I don't know the brand, so I apologize.
He gave us a nice big yawn. He's relaxed and ready to go. So,
or he's low on sleep, possibly.
That too. I tell you, I've changed my sleep habits. I've been waking up at 4 a.m., not on purpose. I've been setting an alarm for 6:30. I haven't made it to it in 2.5 weeks, so that's how things are going. There's Ricky Springer giving us his on board again.
Got a Modelo.
Yeah, he's having a good time. He sent me a note the other night, and I didn't get a chance to share the photos or download them, but he is happily engaged as of late, so congratulations to Springer and family. And Bryce Senesac giving us a colorful on board as always. John Hall, his perspective as well. And Eric Wineland is in the mix tonight.
We should call him because apparently when I was in our team chat, he hit his leg on his microphone, so I'm sure that hurt. Well, that face would have been funny.
And I'll tell you, I had to use a boom microphone for 2 weeks. I would never use it again. The headsets are the way to go. Turn that boom down, baby. Gotta get the good stuff, though. All right, before we head into the race session here, we'll take a moment as well and talk about our starting grid partner, which is Central Mobile Homes. If you're looking for a small or large home, a new shed, or a Triple Crown trailer, look no further than Central Mobile Homes. They've been proudly serving Florida customers for 28 years with a plethora of small and large home floor plans, shed designs, and Triple Crown trailers. Available in LaBelle, Okeechobee, Clewiston, and Sebring. Head to centralmobilehomes.com to get started today. And with that, let's head down to the starting lineup and get things rolling. For the Central Mobile Homes starting grid, it's Justin Anasogak on the front row in the number 88. His 5th consecutive front row start here. Seth Knoll in the yellow, outside looking in currently. He starts 2nd.
And then on row number 2, we got 2 drivers that are almost certainly locked in. John Hall really just needs to start, and he should be all good tonight, starting 3rd. Jake Nichols, he literally has no worries, starting 4th after winning last week at Bristol.
Jonathan Evans rolls off in P5, the number 9. David Weiss starts 6th, the number 33.
Then Jeremy Miller starts in the 7th position, the green and yellow Chevy Silverado. Then alongside him will be Travis Beckner, 20 points to the good. We'll see if he can run up towards the front tonight.
Brad Slaughter Jr.'s number 88 Toyota Tundra starts 9th place. Patrick Moose, 10th in the 38.
11th position, Mason Kane at number 31, who almost made the round of 4 of the championship round last season. Matthew Bappy's going to be trying to do that this season. He's in a good spot starting 12th.
Daniel Day, 13th, the number 61, above the cut line for now. Eric Wineland, 14th, not in the playoffs. He starts in that number 21 car on the outside of row 7.
Driver in the playoffs, 15th position, Edward Scherer Jr., who starts above the cut line by a little bit. He's alongside Ricky Springer, who was a threat last night, starting 16th.
Casey Licata, 17th place in the number 50. Danny Ware, 18th in the number 98. Both of those drivers looking for some points.
Licata's only 2 back. Ware pretty much needs to win. Joshua Balliet, who's had a rough season, starts in the 19th position. Jeremy Brown in the 87 Silverado starts 20th.
21st place, Pacey Wygant in the 00. Reese Schaefer has a lot of work to do to make up some points as far as his starting position, 22nd for the 07.
In 23rd position will be the 20 truck of Ryan Swan. He'll be alongside another Silverado and Gary Waterworth in 24th.
25th place, Garrett Grant in the number 5. And then Devin Johnson, 26th in the number 90.
27th place, Cameron Hearn, who's been a threat here in seasons past. I believe he does have a win here, if
first
I'm not mistaken.
First one, I think, yeah.
He starts 27th. He has work to do, as does Rafe Slate, who's back there in 28th.
And the last couple of rows here, 29th, Ben Pierce in the number 65, Lucas Strayer, 30th in the number 41.
And then second to last row, I think this is the last full row, you have Drew Jua in the 31st position, who's had a great season, but hasn't ran enough races to make the playoffs or point in. And Bryce Senesac, who we have a camera on, is starting 32nd.
And last driver in the field, Tyler Hallman in the number 62. Now, we didn't cover everybody here, so there's a bunch of trucks going to the rear, and they are Bryce Senesac, Gary Waterworth, Rafe Slate, Eric Wineland, Vincent Cortez, Travis Beckner, Jeremy Miller, Luke Strayer, and Daniel Day. Drive-through penalty for Chris Seidenfeiden. He will have to push that off and serve that at another event. He is not present here tonight. All right, pick me a winner.
I said in Discord that someone with a J is going to win. Someone with just a J in their name. So I'm going to go crazy outside the box because I think he has the speed to do it, but he has a lot of work to do. I'm going Drew Jua.
Ooh, that's an interesting call. I think that at this stage of the season, I'm going to roll with John Hall. 2nd in the championship standings. He's got a couple of wins on the season. And if you go back to his other win, one of his other wins, Texas Motor Speedway back in July. That was a big track. This is a big track. They race pretty differently, but I've got confidence that the 03 will be a factor. He's going for a championship, has some extra motivation. I think he picks it.
We'll just have to see. Well, we did both pick drivers with J in their name, so hopefully at least one of us is right. And as he's got another different Celsius flavor on his truck, as he's pretty much had all season. Fruit Burst. I don't drink Celsius, but maybe I should look into it, as we'll get 1 degree next time by. We're getting all those EOLs done. So obviously some of the drivers who had penalties are not in here tonight, like Seidenfaden. So the drivers in the race getting end-of-line penalties tonight are Travis Beckner and Daniel Day. It's big because they're both playoff drivers, so they'll go to the back. And they join Eric Wineland, Gary Waterworth, Rafe Slate, Lucas Strayer, and Bryce Senasak.
So 1 to green here. 95 laps, about an hour worth of racing under green flag conditions. We'll likely have some yellows along the way. What's our strategy look like tonight? I imagine tires after about 10 laps every time we get a yellow?
I would think maybe 15, somewhere around there, but you're definitely, if this somehow went green to that point, this is a 2-stop race. You cannot make it to around lap 47, 48, which is where halfway would be, so you're definitely at least pitting twice for fuel, and we'll see how many sets of tires get used. You have four extra sets at your disposal. By the way, Jeremy Miller was also an EOL. I did not mention him, but he also had to go to the rear.
Yep, I think I got him in my list, so... Doubled up here for this start, 33 trucks. This late in the season, that's a pretty sizable grid for the Truck Series field. One last look at the weather before we turn them loose. Same as it was, 70 air, 81 track. Wind's picked up a little bit, not enough to really feel, but it is something to note.
If it's kind of blowing across the track, you'll definitely feel it, how different it is at different ends of the track. Or you might be going 190 into turn number 1 and only like 180 into turn number 3. So we'll see if you get a headwind or tailwind, and it could easily affect the handling of these trucks.
A lot of EOLs there, single file at the tail end of the field. Hopefully no one else gets on the naughty list here. Christmas is coming up. Pace trucks off, 33 trucks going for the green here in round 2 of 5 in the Area Truck Series playoffs. Green flag, and we're underway in Michigan. Ricky Springer's already middle 3 wide out of the gate, onto the back straightaway. This is when you start juking and jiving here, trying to find a spot in line.
You already saw people trying to go 3 wide into turn number 1. You saw John Hall didn't go 3, but he made that move to the inside of the 88 right away.
I made the point last night that you can comfortably run 5 trucks wide here if you wanted. It's just the spatial awareness of understanding where everybody is.
Oh, caution's out.
On lap 2.
John Hall leads a lap.
Self-inflicted or... Oh no, Beckner down the racetrack. Ooh, almost picked up off the ground there too.
Yeah, we didn't note that. Maybe blowovers are a thing tonight, but let's see what happens here.
He was loose turning down the hill. Again, so this is exactly what my point was, Connor. I was just getting to it, is that it's so wide that you can be literally anywhere on this racetrack. So you need to have spatial awareness, not only about who's immediately next to you, but who's 30 feet to your left or 40 feet to your side rear that you can't see. And that's one of those situations that the 30 was in a blind spot, but you just can't lane change 4 lanes across the road because you need to be sure that you have it clear, right? And it might be clear in the moment that you start moving, but when you come across so many lanes, by the time you get where you're going, there is somebody there. So that's, that's just part of this being so wide, right?
Yeah, certainly plays a factor in it, and maybe he did get a little loose, but definitely didn't really know. I think he overestimated how much, maybe underestimated. He just did not estimate correctly how much room Jeremy was going to use to get out of a corner. Jeremy, I'm sure he thought he was just battling the driver who's outside, which was Tyler Hallman, and was kind of Hallman and Beckner. I don't think he ever expected Beckner to even go to the middle, so I'm sure they'll disagree about that one. But fortunately for Miller, at least he did not go flipping, as some drivers will top off for fuel and damage repair in the 30 and maybe 28's case, but this will not change the strategy by any means.
No, obviously too early for that, but opportunity if you want to top off the tank. But I think anyone was really going to plan on that being the case tonight. Didn't really get a lot of chance to shuffle the deck here. John Hall does get the lead, and did he lead that opening lap? as well?
Yes.
He did. So that's going to be points at least?
At least one, and maybe helps him out. Like we said, the 0-3 is pretty much all good as long as he doesn't have a disaster and someone else wins. But you never know.
About to sneeze. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. Connor had to hear that. Sorry.
Yes, I did.
I did get a talkback box, an announcer console where I can hardware mute myself with one button, which would be really handy for situations like that. But the power supply that I got it for as a gift, because it was an old piece of kit from the Apex broadcast guys that do SRO. Very kind of them, but the power supply that I got is not powerful enough for it. It doesn't belong to it, so I have not been able to plug it in and route all the cables and whatnot. So that is a winter project probably, because I don't have a lot of motivation to set it up. Lights out, 1 to green.
Yeah, there's good help, but I honestly don't have any insight on that, unfortunately. So we do get that 1 to green, and we'll see if we can get a lap this time. Talked about just misjudging the room you have. That definitely shouldn't be a case of it, and we'll see if we play a little nicer this lap. And that was at the back of the field too, which is what we were talking about. If these EOLs with this rec score just generally qualifying badly can really cost you. To me personally, it looked to be the 28's fault mostly, but that it's you put yourself in positions like that, it's very easy to kind of mix yourself up and just put yourself in more trouble. It's kind of what the rec score does at times. You make one mistake, called for a yellow 1 week, it could really mess up your season, because now, I mean, he's still good points wise because he was able to recover last week at Bristol, but now he might have left side damage, he might have another driver mad at him, and he might have even more points next week. Like if he gets called for that, that's 2 extra points. That's a drive-through next week, or 2 weeks time at Iowa. So compounding mistakes is certainly an issue that could easily happen with this system.
All right, so 5 laps will be elapsed after we kind of get fully up to tack here. 9 of Jonathan Evans. We haven't really mentioned him a lot tonight, but just keep an eye on this truck.
2 super speedway wins. He swept Daytona and Dayco.
That's why I bring him up. He's supposed to be blue. He's not in the playoffs, is he?
It's just his scheme. He is not a playoff driver.
I meant for the ticker. But all right, green flag. Let's go again. I knew I had it right. I had a little anxiety about it for a moment, but we're good.
He ran enough races, he would have been. That time, obviously, the race leader gets to have a jump over second, unlike the initial start, so Hall gets a much better jump than the 88 did. But Jonathan Evans has a little bit of a run on him, but it looks like, nope, he is going to go to the outside. Wow, he chopped the nose of Jake Nichols there.
Aggression here really early. Getting the 10, 15 laps to start playing out, I think, before you start making the really big moves. I don't think people have really gotten for more than a lap to figure out what their truck's going to do in traffic in particular. With this new aero model this truck has had, it has made it a real challenge in racing like this.
Yeah, and it's really tough. Bump drafting is a little scary as well. One tiny bump the wrong way, and you're spinning dry in front of you. Here's a crash. And turn number 1 before we even got there, and it was Gary Waterworth who went around that time. So I guess technically we made it a lap, but did not go any further.
28.
Is Beckner, Waterworth to his inside.
Yeah, this time it's not 28's fault. That was just
no.
Waterworth. I don't even know what he was doing. There's a truck there.
Yeah, he just kind of came up the track. Yeah. Maybe he thought he was clear.
But he's definitely there. No, if he has the spotter on, there's no way that was called clear.
And came up for a reason. I don't know what reason that would be. As Evans gets to lead this time, and Waterworth paid the price for that. That got Jake Nichols to second. John Hall is back to third now.
Well, we're only going to change 1 or 2 positions at a time if we can only race 1 lap at a time. So I don't want this to be the momentum we get tonight. So we got to stop crashing into each other when they're just too wide. We're going to be 4 tonight. Cup Series race was honestly not that bad, all things considered. But Evans, Nichols, Hall, your top 3 now. Again, Jake Nichols, no pressure on this night. And that is a relieving feeling, Connor, to be through to the next round, and all you get to do is just play out here. Got to show up, but you just get to play around.
Pretty much. You just have to go for the win. You can kind of do whatever you want. You don't want to make people mad while trying to go for the win, and that's not something Jake Nichols would ever do. He's a smart driver, but you can definitely do moves that you probably wouldn't do if you were under pressure.
Yeah, I think it opens your possibilities up a little bit. I definitely think that you don't want to make somebody mad, especially if they're not in the playoffs. Got nothing to lose. Anyone else peels off here now. 7 laps in. You haven't really burned a lot of fuel, but if you're at the back, if you're Beckner or Daniel Day, or I mean, well, here you go.
Yeah, Beckner's probably going to have to repair damage to that left front. He got away. I don't think he got damage from hitting Miller. That one definitely dinged the left front in a little bit. Otis also came in. He fell back 9 positions on that restart, so it makes sense in that aspect. I wonder what Beckner's thinking right now. He's gone
well,
6 laps and he's ran into 2 609 Motorsports trucks. Not ran into 2 of them.
Yeah, he ran into one and then got run into.
He got squeezed by another.
The racing gods have evened out the score, I think, on the 28 Henry County truck.
I don't think Travis is taking a visit to the state of New Jersey anytime soon.
No, probably not. Well, we got a moment, though. Henry County Motorsports Park is our replay partner. They've provided us a couple looks at that Henry County truck getting sandwiched. Racing is back at the Henry County Motorsports Park. Join us on October 26th. That's 4 days from now to see Crusoe late models, UMP, open wheel modifieds, factory stocks, and more. Tickets are $15 for adults with discounted prices for seniors and teens, and kids ages 5 and under are free. Come see racing at the southernmost dirt track in America, located in Clewiston, Florida, off US Highway 27. Visit henryracing.com for more information.
Yeah, the fuel, 1 tank of fuel, you could probably go without saving it all, probably 34 to 36 laps. So we're not making a new window at this point, but you know, if you want to stretch the fuel further, stay in draft longer, it would be the way to do it, because draft, kind of like last night, I mean, staying in a pack with draft matters, and it significantly impacts your lap time. I think it does it more in the Cup cars, but it'll matter in the trucks as well. As another 1 to green, another restart, and Jonathan Evans, now the leader, picks the bottom.
Yeah, I think the bottom is probably the move here, at least in the short term. These trucks, they don't have the power that the Cup and the Florida State Builders Pro Series cars have, so I think just in the momentum gain of the first lap, you're not really fully up to tilt until you're in the middle of 3 and 4, so I think you're going to want the bottom lane just for the short way around, in the short term at least. Maybe later in the night that will change.
I would think maybe a little bit. Definitely seemed like it was kind of weird, because if you weren't on the way bottom in 3 and 4, you were getting sideways. But that right front tire in the Cup cars, it was cooked if you were running the low line, really both ends of the track. But you can't really get to the yellow line in 1 and 2 like you could 3 and 4. So I really don't know what line you want to do to save a little bit. But we'll see if we get to that point.
Doubled up behind the pace truck. Jonathan Evans is your control vehicle now in that blue, silver, and red truck. Red banners and red splitters and spoilers are your playoff competitors. You see them on the outside of the front row and inside of the second row. Green flag, lap 10. We're back underway. And 10% complete.
Flying by when you look at it like that.
Well, it took us 15 minutes to go 3 minutes, if you look at it the other way, so there's that too.
We'll see which way Evans wants to block. He made that aggressive move to get up in front of Nichols, and we'll see if he wants to commit to that higher line. Brad Slaughter Jr.'s not going to waste time going 3 wide to the bottom. This is a dicey move for second position.
Yeah, he's not waiting around, is he? Started 9th. He's made up 6 spots in effectively a lap and a half worth of racing, so he's trying to carry his momentum from the opening lap into lap 10. And look at on the bottom of the racetrack, Ricky Springer trying to make something happen down there.
And this is the issue with Slaughter's move. If it doesn't work, he's probably going backwards because it is tight 3 wide and he has no drafting help. But he's going to stay there 3 wide. No one really got momentum on the other, and it kept Jonathan Evans in the race lead for another lap, but could not make the bottom work in 1 and 2. We got sideways as well, as Hall's going to stay in the battle for a second, and Slaughter's going to drop back a bit.
Yeah, John Hall, middle of the road there. I don't love being in the center. There's no place to escape. At least not right now, lap 11. I don't know if I want to be in the sucker hole here. Not for a drafting purpose, but because I just think it's a tricky place to get stuck.
Oh. Nichols made a huge move to the inside. Jonathan Evans had thoughts of blocking it, but he thought better of it. But look at the run everyone got on him from that little swerve. He's going to be 3 wide for second and might lose 3 positions.
Yeah, the confidence and aggression in the first 4 rows of this is really wild. But they've been managing it so far. Nichols has the advantage. Seth Knoll pull up to the bumper, but there's that little bit of bubble that you hit when you get close to the bumper of the truck in front that you can't really push through easily.
Evans got really sideways, checked up Weishart, put Slaughter on the apron a little bit, but they got through it for now, so Patrick Moose got the better run through there, and they really checked up the high lanes. There's, I think, Springer's in the middle, and a Sogak's down in that 3 wide action as well.
A little bit of, we're going to try 4. I think we're trying 4, middle of the pack here.
Not quite.
For a moment, they looked like they were going to do it.
That was Matthew Batby on the outside of all that. I wouldn't be surprised if he lifted and said, no, I have too much to lose. I can't really do that.
Yeah,
he just kind of gave it up.
Again, it's just if you give this 10, 15 laps, it'll start to filter out, and then you have a little bit of safety to make some maneuvers. But just keeping track of every truck around you. It's like driving in New York City traffic with your eyes closed. You just got to guess sometimes.
Really is a lot of a guessing game. It's not a guessing game you really want to play, but it's a game you're kind of forced to play with how packed up you are for the first 10, 15, 20 laps of a race like this. And sometimes you're guessing that 3 wide middle move is going to be open. Sometimes it won't be. Patrick Moose forced the issue on Jonathan Evans, so Evans is starting to fade back a little bit. And Sogak started on the pole. He's not even in the top 10.
Into turn 3 now. John Hall on the bottom underneath Seth Knoll. Seth trying to rip that high lane. There's David Weishart in the 33. We talked about his successes here at this track in the past. 6th up to 4th. He's a Midwest guy. Not exactly home. Indianapolis would be that, but a couple hours to the north.
Trying to at least count it as trying to maybe use it as motivation and use it as a home race. As a thing for home races, he runs really well in Indianapolis whenever we go there, and he's always a threat to win. Had it not come down to fuel mileage, he might have been the guy to win that race. But definitely at the front when it matters most. He got really 3 of our 4 drivers that are below the cut line, or at least 3 or 4 entering in the top 8 or in the top 5 right now, I should say.
Yeah, he pushed up the hill really big in 3 and 4 and opened the door for John Hall. Patrick Moose, Pacey Wygen, run that 00 qualified, 21st to 6th.
Kind of what he did last week. He really didn't qualify well, but he just got to the front when it mattered. So 00 showing real speed near the end of a season.
Love that sound as the trucks rocket by. Weishart goes up top. 38 tried to fill that gap there in the middle. Ricky Springer in that 51, other driver that started a little further back, and his progress has been pretty strong so far.
Not really surprising. He's always good at this type of track. It's starting to sort out a little bit. A lot more single file action, although you see John Hall still trying to make that bottom line work and just get some of his track position back. But when you have all these drivers in one line drafting down the straightaway, it's hard to get any sort of ground, as Wygen tried to force it kind of middle when he was still too wide, but they got back in line. Someone swerved. Oh, someone's spinning at the back. It's Travis Beckner again.
This night could not go worse for the 28.
And it's not what he needed either. He might have even more damage.
The thing you risk is that not only you have a bad night, if this is on you, then you end up, which I don't know that it will be based on where the trucks are right now, and it looks like, oh, there was a stack up ahead of him, and just
there's not much he could do there. And then Gary Waterworth kind of ran down and got involved in it a little bit.
Yeah, this is just a stack
Slate comes up. He hits the wall there. Miller reacts, slammed on the brakes. Beckner did a good job avoiding him.
I think so. I mean, if anything, the only thing you can really say is that you got to have your eyes up a little further, because right here, he had 2 or 3 seconds of opportunity to lift, but you're trying to carry so much momentum that it feels detrimental to lift until something like that happens. We just have a crash on the back straightaway close to it.
I did not see. I don't think so. I hope not. Someone went to the apron back there, but I think they might have just been checking up a little hard. I don't think anything happened there. But this is probably the first time you'll see drivers pit. Lap 18, got a decent run on tires, and sure enough, Jake Nichols leads everyone down the pit road. Will there be any drivers doing something different? That is Rafe Slate staying out, and that's about it.
I have a feeling that he'll come back around and pit. I don't see... Because he was the truck that just hit the wall, yeah? Wouldn't you want to repair that damage?
I would think so, but the truck does look clean, and I feel like if we're 2 to green, pit road is going to close here as Edward Shearer drives through his pit stall. I wonder if he was trying to get a lap lead and might not be able to, and Sogak missed his stall. Lakatos, I think, also drove through his pit stall, so I think both of them had the same idea, and both of them are going to be hurt by Rafe Slate. Seth Knoll won the race off of pit road, I believe, over Jake Nichols, and you got Weishart out in 3rd and Moose 4th and Hall 5th.
All right, so we'll reshuffle the deck a little bit. Look at all the yellow in the top 10, though. All 4 of the drivers below the cut line are in the top 10, which makes, I mean, if everyone's successful, nobody is, right? I mean, you need to gain on those trucks. And they're all doing well, which is not good news for drivers like Daniel Day and Reese Schaefer, who are way down. Of course, Travis Beckner as well. Beckner is now repairing additional damage, and he's really got to figure out how to get some track position here and get out of this mix.
And with damage like that, I don't know if he was laying back there just to conserve, but he was not making up time. Where he wrecked, he was around 30th, so he was not making up time, whether by choice or not. It kind of put him in that situation again, as we'll see if anyone at the front pits. Slate stays out, and Shearer and Lakatos will pit because they're trying to get a lap lead, and neither of them win that.
Yeah,
but
so
Slate will stay out.
Rafe came down the last time, so it's not like it's 18, 19 lap old tires. And again, remember, we had the first 10 laps effectively under yellow. So I don't think this will be a huge deal. Maybe Rafe felt like he was a driver that could benefit from getting out of the fray. But he was the fray just a moment ago, so we'll see.
Like I said, it didn't really do much damage to the right side of that. It was just a stack up that caused the 28 to go around, avoiding the 30. So his truck is pretty much untouched, and figured if he can get some track position, he'll be way better off, which could definitely be true. Because track position matters a lot, because you can just see a lot more when you're at the front, which is obvious, but makes perfect sense. Sometimes when you're in a pack like that, you just don't see where you're going. It's easy to lose your bearings and put yourself in the wall. That could have easily been what happened to Slate, so maybe the extra track position will help him a little bit.
Yeah, I think that, you mentioned being able to see, right? I mean, in general, if you can see what you're doing better, you can place your truck better on the track. If you're 15th place in the middle of 4 wide, what inputs do you do when you enter the corner? You have to enter in a way that puts you on the limit to go fast, but how can you commit to any input, throttle brake or otherwise, if you have no idea who's going to be alongside you in the next moment? It's really tricky to get that all right. But lap 21, first 20 laps complete here on this restart. And Rafe Slate will have the inside lane, Seth Knoll to the outside. He's got David Weishart behind him. I would be interested to see if these tires will hold up, not in 1 and 2, but when we get to 3 and 4, what that 8 truck will do. Let's see.
Yeah, we'll really see in turn 1, 3, and 4.
Green flag, racing again in Michigan.
All got to the bottom, was able to get in front of the nose of Patrick Moose. And Slate's going to give the 73 the bottom. I think he gave too much room there. I don't think he thought Noah would put him 3 wide top, but
no,
it looked like freight train.
Looked like he got loose, actually, just when he tried to commit to it. Moved up the hill, almost either surprised or loose.
I think he tried to move up to the second lane. Him and Wygen had contact. No. This could be a big crash.
And it will be.
Danny Ware's in that. Danny Ware, big damage.
Tyler Hallman's in it.
Matthew Batby, big damage. Another playoff driver coming across the line there.
Yeah, there will be a lot of drivers that will say, man, every time someone does this stay out strategy from 30th, look at how this pans out.
2 playoff drivers in that big time.
So where was the genesis of that? So we saw the
00 and 8. Bappy's going to be, that's huge because he was actually looking pretty good until that. These guys get 3 wide, and Slate, I think, came down. You could look at the seams kind of came down, and Wygant just could not save it. Jonathan Evans couldn't check up on time, and there's nowhere for anywhere.
That truck's going to be destroyed. I don't think there's any way.
There was nowhere for Grant, Ware, and Bappy to go. Eric Weiland got a big whack in that as well. And you're absolutely right. People will not be happy about how that panned out when they realize who was in that.
There are times that strategy makes sense, but I've been vocal about this, especially in this series in particular. Weiland took a big hit there. I don't think that there's any reason to do that on lap 22. And then furthermore, if you're going to do it, as soon as it doesn't work, you just get out of the way, because what happens next is you try to hang on to positions, you cause a crash, and it didn't need to happen. And again, it wasn't going to, if you know immediately it's not going to gain you anything long term, then just drop to the back. You're going to be back there in 3 laps anyway. You might as well do it without taking 5 people with you. So that's my opinion on that. I mean, it's a valid strategy. It's not illegal to do, but you have to be responsible with it. And I don't think that that Rafe did anything egregious there, but it's just a pattern of, when you stay out on old tires and you can't hang with the rest of the pack, that's what happens.
Yeah, the issue is obviously the time of the season is what everyone's going to be mixed up about, especially Danny Ware and Matthew Bappy. And Danny Ware was in a must-win situation anyways, but he was still looking fast. Matthew Bappy was in a good point spot. Now all of a sudden he's really going to be at risk. He was smoking passing the start-finish line, and that's where people are going to be mad about it the most, is when you kind of affect playoff implications. We saw that last night, I think, with 3 to go. Oates and Newbigging had contact. Newbigging needed the win. It ruined the 71's race, and it kind of mixed up the battle between Tyler Nichols and Curran for that last playoff spot. So when you're a non-playoff driver, no matter really if you're at fault or not, I feel if you're a non-playoff driver, you mix it up with playoff drivers or other drivers and get playoff drivers involved, that's when you become not a fan favorite.
Lights will be off this time. We'll restart next time around lap 25. About 71 laps to go. Again,
there's a lot of destroyed trucks.
Did I have an extra driver in yellow that I wasn't supposed to have?
You got, I think Patrick Moose was extra. Let me look, because I have updated it, so.
Well, it doesn't. Oh, I see. Yeah, he should be blue. Oh well, can't win them all.
He's in blue right now. If it changed live, which it doesn't, he would definitely be in blue regardless.
I just checked that, but I'll pull these up again just to see how things are going. Travis Beckner, oof.
Yeah, he's having a big risk right now. We got Licata's 23rd. He needs a good night. He can't afford that.
Yeah, Weishart, as well as he's running, this number should concern him that he's only 4 above the cut line.
Yeah, there's not much he can. I mean,
he can't do much more.
You got a lot of yellow around you, especially with Knoll. He kind of needs to pass Seth Knoll, and Knoll's going to be at the front most of this race, so that's his issue. Yeah,
that's the biggest challenge, right? Is he's doing almost everything he can in his power other than win, and some of this comes down to a little bit of luck. Sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good.
Matthew Bappy, 28th, is going to drop him down that live point sheet almost immediately. At the front, things have been solid. We'll see if that continues.
Green flag. A little bit of a stack up on the outside lane there, and one truck didn't really get going. That was the 20 of Ryan Swan, I believe, in the pink.
He's up the track. Rafe Slate. He's getting out of the way this time. They are 4 wide trying to pass that 8 truck, though, as Miller's going to be for middle. They're blocking to the apron. Jake Nichols went all the way to the bottom trying to fend off the 0-3, and here comes Seth Knoll trying to pinch the 0-3 down as well.
Watch Patrick Moose getting in a big arc into turn 3. From the top to the bottom, he'll take the elevator to the ground floor, tries to keep his foot in it, but there's not a lot of air behind these 3 flying formation at the front. Look at this, 3 wide for the lead.
Yeah, John Hall, I think, realized he was getting boxed in by teammates, going to try to negate that. Patrick Moose is trying to get up there to help, but he's not really close enough to have an effect as they're 3 wide for the lead. John Hall led that lap, and he'll try to dive it as hard as he can into turn number 1, but there's not much diving with the lack of off-throttle time, but he'll get the lead regardless.
So John Hall takes the advantage to the top step. Seth Knoll's going to give him a shot. Trucks fanning out. One's in the fence. It's Devin Johnson in the back.
And the caution's out for that.
Really?
Yeah. Had to be.
I thought the apron was no touch zone here.
It was one of those new. Maybe it's one of those newer tracks, but there's definitely for that, and that'll end his night. Huge hit to that safer barrier.
He was on the inside of the 61 of Daniel Day. Does he just get sucked around here by the air?
Rewind,
Yeah.
up the track. Yeah, he got sideways and then
he got hit.
Edward Shearer, playoff driver, kind of tapped him. 90 definitely got loose, but he had it collected by the time Shearer got into him.
Yeah.
That's kind of been Case Edward's season. He just kind of, he's kind of had a lot of penalty points in trucks this season, but he's gotten to the playoffs because of that. As we are working our 5th caution, and we are 27 laps in.
Don't love that stat.
No, it's not great.
How things are looking here. John Hall's looking pretty good with where he is, obviously. So Matthew Batby, he is now multiple laps down, so his night is destroyed. And I think the only chance that he really stands is that everybody else gets out quickly.
Yeah, he needs a lot more help, but we kind of saw that happen at Bristol. Bristol's another high-stress track where we saw like 2 people flip on Tuesday. So I guess that's not out of the equation, but this is a different type of chaos, and he's going to need a lot more of it if he wants to try to advance. He's also, if he can help getting out there, he's going to have to.
Just also note that this thing shifts around quite a bit. Like, imagine Travis Beckner gets up a little further up the road where I think he should be running. He's just struggled to get to that point, but it really moves the cut line around a lot when you have a driver that's a little further down the order. Get up into the mix there. Where's Ray Schaefer? He's up to 13th now. He had a pretty good night here. Was he in the Cup race last night? I feel like I remember.
Schaefer, yeah, I think Schaefer was in there somewhere.
I thought he had a pretty good night. There is a lot of trucks
On pit road.
on pit lane, or that have been on pit lane for a while. We started with 33 from 26th on back. I would consider those trucks, other than Eric Wineland, effectively totaled. They might make their way back into the race, but if you're not in the playoffs, I don't really ever understand the need for that. But
Running laps, I assume. You want to be a part of the race, I suppose. I get that.
I'm a rage quitter.
I am the different.
Well,
the exact
I mean,
opposite.
if
even
you
in
go,
official races, I do it. And I guess in official race it makes sense because the safety rating.
Yeah, I mean,
changes.
if you're 2 or 3 laps, that's one thing. Once you get to like 5, it's like, what are we? I mean, maybe if there's like 6 other people that are the same amount of laps down and you can pick up a couple spots easily without getting in the way, that's one thing. But
Yeah, if you're not in the playoffs, sure, no reason. But those guys, if Batby can get out there, Danny Ware makes no sense. He needed to win. He won't be able to win. But if Batby can get any spots, he's got to get out there.
doubling up for the restart. And John Hall elects for the bottom lane.
Trying to look where the 28 restart, I think 24th, we'll see. He did have a lot of damage back because he's still coming across the line after repairing as much as possible. He'll cross the line 24th, so that will be where the 28 restarts, and he's still in a decent position, even running back there, 11 to the good, but he's had it made much harder on himself. As I believe the points are updated. The Ware is pretty much out. Lakatos needs positions, and Matthew Batby needs chaos because he's 7 points back and he has nothing going his way. But Edward Shearer's still out there. He's 3 points back of Daniel Day, who he needs to outrun. He's right behind him.
So doubled up again for the restart, lap number 30. And the pace truck will peel off here in a moment's time, and we'll be back underway from Michigan.
We'll see if Hall gets shuffled out by Knoll and Nichols. We'll see what Weishart wants to do to try to get involved as green flag's out.
Well, shuffling midfield there, Jeremy Miller 3 wide. Didn't get up through the gears very well, or others behind him got through there better.
It's a 20 and 30 again, so I don't know if one's pushing the other and getting them squirrely or what, but either way, they sorted it out, at least for the time being. Again, Hall is leading. Weishart does get the second. We'll see what he wants to do. It looks like Weishart's going to take the outside. John Hall kind of gave it to him. Is Seth Knoll going to dive 3 wide? He got blocked.
That was a big block. Weishart up the hill, trying to run the long way around. Seth Knoll still on the bottom. Jake Nichols with the run. Where do you go with it? What do you do with it? And then Mason Kane, the 31 we haven't talked a lot about tonight. He's been lingering back there.
Here goes the 1. 03 did not want to block that run because it was early enough before the corner, as Knoll's going to try to send it hard, try to clear the 03 before they get to the middle of the corner. Not able to do it, so Hall's going to hang to the outside, but we'll see who gets the better push. Will Nichols shove him, or will Weishart get up there?
Look at the momentum and how much things change on the back straightaway.
Knoll's trying to at least get 1 bonus point for leading this lap. I don't believe he's gotten it yet, but if the 03 gets enough momentum off the corner, it's going to be tough to do.
I do have 1 scored for him here.
All right, well then, so be it.
But he's trying to...
It'll help him.
I mean, you just want to make sure, though, right?
Yeah.
If you didn't know, maybe he didn't know.
I'm sure he's probably racing like he doesn't have one right now. He hit the apron a little bit there, too. It just, when you got everyone on top of each other, that making that work on the bottom is going to be really, really tough.
Well, you picked this driver as your winner tonight. Drew Jua from 31st to 6th, navigating all of the chaos. And look at what he has done.
Moved up through the field. Like we said, he has had a lot of top 10s compared to the races he's ran. He just didn't run enough races to point in. Otherwise, he was going to be close, but he's always fast. I think the trucks suit him a little bit more, and it's at least showing right now. As Danny Ware is bringing it the pit lane, he did get back on track. I think he spun and the engine expired, maybe.
Seth Knoll,
stay green.
John Hall still side by side out of 2, but I think John is going to get the better run. He will clear Seth. Seth will tuck back in line. The Springer in the 51. He went 16th to 10th in the first 10 laps and then has stalled out here. But working the outside of Drua to try to take that spot back.
Meanwhile, on this run, Jake Nichols kind of committed to the bottom. It's not working. He's fallen outside the top 5, and Ricky Springer is next in line to try to get to his outside.
John Hall actually got a pretty good lap there. And managed to put a little distance on Seth Knoll in turns 1 and 2. And singling out here at least the front 5. And things look a lot calmer here now for some reason as the 20 car goes way up the hill. He's in the marbles out there. But if he can find grip, he might keep the overlap on the 30, and he does.
Just barely got enough overlap there. Is trying to look. It looks like Shear's trying to move his way into the top 15. Lakatos almost got put in the wall by Senesac and still looking further back. I think that damage is taking a toll on Beckner's car. He's only up to 21st and not able to really stay up there. So that damage at tracks this aero and draft dependent, it makes such a huge difference.
Off into 3. Joshua Balliet in the 7, shallow line into 3 underneath the 30. Daniel Day in the 61 trying to poke a hole through. He has got to move only as high as 13th where he started. That is not a stat you want past the 1/3 mark of this race.
And according to the cut line, he's going to be battling that 17 all night long. Being behind him is not where he wants to be. Tied on the cut line last I updated with that driver. So he's just trying to follow through and keep up with the driver he's fighting in points at this point.
Line formation down the back straightaway here. Lots of points right ahead of him. How hard do you push for him? Right now, at least. There's a lot of racing left to go.
Yeah, I don't think you really want to push too hard right now, but you don't want him to get too far ahead of you. You kind of need to keep tabs on him, so push as hard as he is, basically, and be careful about the bump drafting go onto your inside between Swan and Miller, as Swan's going to get up right in front of Daniel Day, and they'll be 3 wide with Balliot on the bottom with some rear bumper damage.
Still 3 wide back here. John Hall still leads the race. It's pretty tidy for the first 3 or 4 spots. Springer and Jua still side by side here, up the road a little ways. Jua is out on the bottom of the track. Springer up top. That's who we're on board with now.
He's done a good job just staying consistent. He's not really moving around that much once we get green flag running, kind of just running the top side, picking up the scraps for when drivers on the bottom start falling back, but outside lane's going to check up there. Looked like maybe Slaughter tried maybe shooting middle, it wasn't there, but now as I say that, he's going to try to get to the right rear of Slaughter, make it 3 wide. It's dicey, but he had the run to do it, and Slaughter has to give the room. Jua got loose trying to give the room himself.
And the 73 saw the momentum building and will just hop right on that bandwagon to the outside of the 81 of Slaughter.
You see someone with a run, you see someone with momentum, you have to take it. You can't really just sacrifice and push the driver in behind. You have to take any runs you get.
The deeper in the field, Lucas Strayer in the 41 started his race all the way back in 30th and has generally kept his nose pretty clean. I don't think that he's been involved in much, if anything, tonight.
Was top 10 before the latest caution, so he's been around places. He's hovering around the top 10 right now. He's running a way higher line than most people are in the middle of the corner there, as he's getting a little loose off the corner because of him running that. But this is probably the furthest ahead the leader's been all race, and still only about 0.2 of a second. Noel has not had any challenge for John Hall as of late.
David Weishart lingering in P3. It's been a really good night for him, and it needs to be. Oh, a little wiggle out of 2, though.
Strayer spun into the outside wall. He didn't spin fully, but he is. We were just talking about him, and he's pretty destroyed. That did not bring out a yellow. Everyone had to take evasive action there.
Was he helped, or was it on his own? Looks like it might have just been on his own.
I think it was on his own. I think he crosses that seam, and it wiggles, and he just does not catch it.
That was a big hit there, too. Great heads up there by everybody behind to dodge and weave out of the way. And good save by Strayer, but he'll have to come to the attention of the invisible pit crew as we go back to the front here.
At least it's not invisible to them. At least they get to see it. But those top 2 have been pretty stable. They've been willing to run with each other, but the battle for third has been ongoing. Moose and Weishart keep swapping back and forth, and I guess that's because they really haven't had a challenge from behind, but Jake Nichols has gotten his way back to 5th, so maybe they have to start trying to stay in line and not battling each other.
51 loose, with Jua right up packed behind him, and the 81 even wiggling and wobbling around a little bit. Big moves here at the front. John Hall left to right, Noel right to left.
And Noel finally went for that spot. He got a run big enough to where he was comfortable taking it. He's going to try to slide up in front of Moose, but Moose drove it in hard to the right rear, trying to keep the overlap, and he does. And now he's going to be in a Miller Racing sandwich. But Patrick Moose is actually going to push, at least for now, he's going to push that one a little bit here, keep them side by side.
Into 3 and 4, Seth Noel. Top spot, look at the 73 just tucked in behind Weishart.
I wonder how much Nichols is going to work with him here. They lost a little ground, but they're still right in draft range as Seth Noel officially gets that lap led. No question about it that time. As it seemed like last night the driver in clean air did not benefit tire saving and he started falling back. We'll see if that's the same case tonight for John Hall, as he's now back to 3rd. Patrick Moose gets up into 2nd.
Yeah, field's starting to spread out a little ways now, so he could probably settle in just a touch. I think there's still some drivers at the limit, like John Hall was chasing his tail across the road there for a moment.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I think it's still 2 stops from here to my knowledge, so you really don't want to have to pit early, but when you're getting that sideways and that all over the place, you got to be really careful with how you're wheeling it, especially in traffic like this.
Nichols starting to nip at the heels here of the drivers ahead.
That cut line stays tight. Now it's talking about Weishart's run top 3, top 4. He's still out as it runs. So this is kind of like the situation in trucks last season that Brad Slaughter was in, where he almost pretty much needed to win. He got that victory. Weishart's probably going to have to duplicate that or just finish top 2. I mean, he is really in a tight spot. Patrick Moose also notably got that bonus point there for leading that lap.
3 wide for third.
We'll see who Weishart. I mean, he has no choice. He's going to be pinned to the top. He has to go with him here. Has to go with the 1. As John Hall's really starting to slip back. He's back now to 5th.
Oof. Oh, the 33.
Oh, wow.
Big wiggle out of 4. It kept his foot in it, though. He hasn't lost a lot of time, even though it's looked a little unsteady at times. 50 laps to go this time through.
Yeah, it looked unsteady. I don't know if I want to be too close to the bumper if I'm Jake Nichols. I'm sure packing the air on the spoiler's hurting as well. So if you're Nichols, you kind of get away from him, at least in the corner, as Slaughter tries to way highline. We haven't seen that work since they repaved this
go,
track.
Though. It's got him a huge boost down the backstretch. He runs out of steam, but I think he learned something there, and if everyone else is paying attention, they might have too.
And notably, Matthew Bapty's back on track. At least as it stands, he has about 5 positions to gain. So we'll see if that makes a difference. But right now, the battle's at the front. This is as tight as it's gotten since really the restart.
Look at the momentum that the 81 gains early on the straightaway. He kind of runs out of the juice, but we'll see if he does it again. 73 picked up on it a little bit, but isn't willing to commit as high as Slaughter Jr.
I think that's probably by design. I don't think he really wants to commit that high. I think he's probably still a little worried about the tire life and how it affects that, so doesn't feel like there's any reason to protect his right rear from side draft and from getting past, so he's just not going to risk it. As Patrick Moose, same way, he's just going to paint the yellow line through this set of corners.
Whoa, big chase across the road, right to left. Brad Slaughter Jr. to the inside of the 73 on a crossover. Moose chases Knoll down the hill. Or vice versa, I guess. Vice versa.
Trevor's all over the track. Mostly Daniel Day, he started to slip back. Joshua Valiette got by him for 16th. Lakatos is up to 17th. Matthew Bapty's already up to the 29th position.
And from 24th on back, that's where our out and off begins. Wineland, Waterworth, Ware, Batby have come back on course, but they're all multiple laps down. The aggression level in the top 10 is significant, even this deep into a run. They've got 20, 30 laps on their tires now, and they're still driving like they just put a fresh set on it. They have all the maneuverability in the world. Edward Scherer Jr. way up the hill, trying that line that Slaughter was given a go.
You could see the difference in aggression and where the packs are right now, or maybe the difference in who's damaged and who isn't. These top 12 have driven away from Ryan Swan, 13th on back. And Swan, at least it seems, he's out of draft range. So that changes the strategy you want to do. If you're someone behind or in line with Ryan Swan, you might have to short pit a little bit just to get back in the lead draft. That draft matters a lot. Someone hit the wall. I think it was maybe Mason Kane. I couldn't really tell, but no one really got sideways. I think it was Slaughter actually tapped it a little bit.
Weishart way up on the outside groove there. Got Drew Jua, who's made up a few spots. He was 9th a couple of laps ago. Here he is P5. That 13 continues to make some progress forward.
Now it seems like maybe...
Sorry, I was say all is calm in the top 3.
And starting to see the difference in tires, I think, even more at the front. Weishart, we've seen him get sideways, and we're starting to see that pace fall off to where he's not able to really stay with these top 3. I think he's holding Jua and Nichols back a little bit.
So you were thinking still a 2-stopper to the end? We're 32 laps in now. 45 to go.
It might be close, actually. It might be close. I think you might not have to save at this point to make a one-stop work, but it's still pretty close. So we might still be 10 laps away, 9-10 away from pit stops. Ricky Springer just came with a radio asking about minimum speed. I'm sure he wasn't influenced by Matthew Batby, but this is what Batby has to do. He's trying to get any positions possible right now. Unfortunately, right now, actually, Daniel Ware has gotten back on track, but he does have Lucas Strayer to get, but he needs a lot more.
Yeah, he needs at least another 10 laps just to gain one spot, and they're slow to come. Got to tough this one out. Top three breaking away a little bit. Weishart's trying to keep them from doing so. Actually, the quickest truck in the top 10 last time by was the 0-3 of John Hall.
No real surprise there for sure as that cut line continues to fluctuate. Daniel Day's one out. Weishart is in right now. This has not been a good run for Day, even though he has not been near the front. He's actually started to fall back. He's now back almost of a 17th position. So as long as Day doesn't have a good day, Weishart could have a good chance, but you can't bet on him finishing outside the top 15.
All way up on the outside. Find some speed to get around John Hall. John Hall slots into second. Single file now in the top 10. Actually goes back to 12th place Reese Schaefer. Plotting and planning for pit stops, perhaps.
Those Reese Schaefer's another driver who's kind of fallen out of the top 10 a little bit. Brad Solar Jr. started to fade too. He actually has a decent bit of a little bit front end damage where the bumper's separated. So that might be an issue that's causing him to fall down the order as well. Shear's trying to make his way up into the top 10. That pass is proving difficult, and we've really seen this track widen out this run.
Average of 7 leaders in the past with 15 lead changes. We're already at our 7 leaders, 10 lead changes so far. I'm sure we'll see more than 5 in the remainder of this race. Coming up on 40 laps to go next time around, and they are clicking him off and putting him down now. And now you're strategizing. This is the chess match part of this where you have to think a couple moves ahead. What's our tire life like? What is the time gain from taking tires earlier than somebody else? But it's going to be probably just a more of a fuel conversation than anything at this stage. But we're 36 laps into this run, 40 to go at the stripe, so it can't be that far off.
Certainly won't be that far off, but we said the fuel window was probably around 34, 36 that full set, and so you really need to make it at least 5 more laps, but you need to make sure you're at least pit with one other person. I think Swan got the wall in the background, but he kept it straight. You need to pit at least with one driver for drafting purposes, or else you're going to lose some time just in that aspect. And you don't really want a short pit. If you want track position, you need track position, and you're back there, maybe out of this lead line, I get it, but you really risk not having enough for the end of a race. Green white checkers are a thing. We have 3 of them instead of 1 from last season, so you need to at least try to save something for at least one of those. And you got to be really, really careful about it.
Weishart goes back up the hill. So I love when you see drivers fan out. This and Fontana and some of the other tracks that we've seen in iRacing really have the multi-groove work in a pretty fun way where over the course of the run, the line moves around. Over the course of the race, the line moves around. You can watch the advantages get gained and lost. It's just pretty interesting to watch drivers be braver, go up out of the groove, out of the rubbered-in line, and try to find some speed.
And it's not something I really expected out of this track. I don't remember seeing it in seasons past either, where you were seeing drivers close to the wall. Saw it in Cup, and the tire's a little funky in Cup to where you kind of expect that, but seeing it in the trucks is definitely encouraging for sure, and proving to be so right now as Beckner's cracked the top 20 finally, as Jake Nichols is still riding this one out. Hasn't really challenged for the lead this run.
Ricky Springer, P6. Talked about his progress and how it sort of stalled out around the tail half of the top 10. He is actually tied for the 3rd quickest truck in the top 10. So he is on a move right now. Needs a windshield tear off at this stage.
Costs too much time, can't have it.
Does it cost a little extra time to do the tear off?
I don't know, but I don't think so, but I'm superstitious. Finally, a pit stop. Brad Slaughter's going to come down. He's the first one to come down.
Yeah, splitting it
he's on his own.
Basically in half.
Ryan Swan came down as well.
I think if you can, play the long game here a little bit. I'd rather have, I mean, there's the fall off is about a half a second to 0.7 of a second, depending on how hard you've been beating up your stuff. That's not a little bit. So I'm definitely on team pit later if you can to have a little extra tire at the end.
I fully agree. Not only for fuel purposes, but also tire purposes. Like you said, I think you need to stretch the tires and fuel.
Oh,
you need to go as long as you can.
That's a good point. You mentioned the green-white checkers and how, I mean, think how many extra laps we can have. Everybody's going to come this time. This is a huge chunk of trucks.
Oh, Weishart's, oh my goodness, they're all sideways. Weishart's going to spin it right in front of Jua. Somehow Jua missed him, but it's going to cost some drivers time. Who came in? Knoll, Springer, Jake Nichols, Reese Schaefer, Weishart, Edward Shearer, at least close to half of our playoff drivers.
I know Weishart
Day as well.
would have liked to undo that, but it could have been a lot worse. Could have missed pit lane, could have gotten wadded up there on the entry. 35 laps to go next time by Moose, Hall, Kane still out front here. And on the left-hand side of the screen, the stint length, which is how long drivers have been on the road, and it will reset when these trucks, Moose and Hall, hit pit lane.
And they are in. All three, I think, Miller Racing teammates come down there, and as does Joshua Balliet. So not everyone comes down. Jonathan Evans will stay out one more lap, and he's almost pretty much a lone ranger on this strategy. Anna Sogak, Lakatis, Beckner, Brown, Ben Pierce all stayed out as well. And look at this pack coming onto the track. Jonathan Evans right in the middle of it, having to get by Pacey Wygen, who's going his first lap down. And at the front of all of that is Slaughter. He did come out in front of the one of Knoll, but we'll see how long that lasts. So actually,
Evans is going to go around again. We don't have a lot of trucks left. Only the top 10 have not pit. And actually, now that's all corrected, so it's only the top 6. You see it on the left-hand side there. Back to Pierce. They owe us a pit stop. So there's not really a lot of leeway here, Connor. 3 green-white checkers might be kind of tight for the first group that came, like Brad Slaughter.
I would think so. So he might have to conserve and maybe hold back a little bit more than he wants to. And Jonathan Evans will be in a good spot fuel-wise, as will Anna Sogak, Lakatis, Beckner. But Lakatis and Beckner are kind of far off the lead pack anyways. But in Jonathan Evans' case, he was in the lead pack. He'll have a tire advantage and more fuel, sure. But if you're not in that lead pack, once he comes out, he might be in trouble, as I think he's going to come back. He's going to come down this time.
See if Anna Sogak stays out, as you pointed out. Casey Lakatis, Beckner, Brown, and Pierce. They'll stay on the road.
Matthew Bappy just blew up at the start-finish line, so we'll see if he gets off the track. He is off the track, but it still could bring out a yellow. This could change things. If I'm Anna Sogak, if I'm in a Discord with him, I'm telling him, stay out. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, we do
and he's
now.
He's going to get off pit road. And Bappy came 2 laps short of getting Lucas Strayer.
Oh, man, that is frustrating.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an incident that was his own fault either. He was just a victim in his, which makes it that much worse.
And Sogak another lap, Lakatis another lap.
We've got a few more to. Now there is a point when I think, maybe much beyond the next 3 or 4 laps that I think that they're going to be diminishing returns on the gains that they'll get later. Because you need to have time to use the tire, not just have the new ones.
I think in Beckner's case and Ben Pierce's case, and Jeremy Brown, they were off the lead pack anyways, so there's not much reason to not do that. So I get why they're doing this, as meanwhile the battle for what would turn out to be the lead is ongoing. Patrick Moose has caught Brad Slaughter Jr., but he does not have the push to go for it. Seth Knoll's going to go with the 81 as they're passing Danny Ware. And Sogak's in now. And Lakatis will take the lead. He gets a pretty crucial bonus point, maybe.
Yeah, that could be. And we'll see how things pan out. I'm sure the points will be hard to chase during the pit stop sequence, so we'll get an update once everything settles. The lead group is on pit lane, save for Lakatis. And this is a mess behind Seth Knoll. That's going to be a tight squeeze up the hill, and the 51 almost had nowhere to go.
Seth Knoll's not waiting. He knew the 81 was kind of slowing everyone up, so it's going to put Slaughter out of it. And on older tires, it's going to be tough for him to get back up through these guys, as lets Ricky Springer get through to a battle for eventually second. So he had a really good pit cycle himself. Oh, 38's loose. Lakatos is in the pit lane, so this is going to cycle out to be your lead battle. As here comes Ricky Springer.
At 51, timed this very, very well. Gained a bunch of spots, about 4, and maybe 5 if he can get to the lead here past Seth Knoll. Because as you pointed out, Lakatos is in pit lane. Don't burn your stuff up, though. These are the tires you're likely taking to the end unless you get a caution in the next 15 laps or so. Can't really afford to beat him up.
There's a really good cycle for Edward Shearer as well. He's worked his way into this battle as well, and he needs it.
He's had a wild day. As low as 31st, as high as 9th, but now obviously running P5, so this will update the next time around.
It not in that slide from Weishart really cost him a lot of track position. Daniel Day did not have a good cycle as well, but he was actually running better than 14th when that happened.
So as long as these are effectively updated, the cut line is a lot more secure as far as the deltas between drivers. It was so tight before. But you're right, that 33 really lost critical positions. And I don't know if this goes green if he'll be able to make them back.
Yeah, he's out of a lead draft, notably. He's not in this line. He's about maybe a second, 2 seconds behind the end of that pack, which is Danny Ware. So he needs to push hard to try to get back up there.
So he really needs a yellow, I think, and then to capitalize on grabbing some positions. It's a tall task. Like, he needs to be top 3 effectively to make up that amount of points.
Yeah, we'll see. He was not much faster than the line in front of him. He is about 1.8 seconds behind Schaefer. He needs to probably get a second to get in lead draft, or he needs him to start mixing it up with a lead, but they're not doing that right now. Ricky Springer is very content to ride in line.
Patrick Moose to the bottom of Ricky Springer. He wants second place back. Chase up the hill here.
John Hall's not really there to push, so he's not going to really be able to help much. Those two should stay clear.
All right, so now we're going to look at these stats that we've talked about, how the last lead change happened on average with 7 laps to go. But most recently, it was just in the final lap. So do you try to position yourself like it's a plate track, or is this one of those places that you would rather have the advantage and just try to keep it?
I think I want to be at the front. I don't know if that person in third is going to push me or put me 3 wide, so you can't really anticipate on their help. I think if you have a run for the lead sometime before the tires start falling off, you got to get it then, and then just try to hold on for dear life. There's a point when the tires get too old to really make those passes effectively, so I'd say if you don't make that move of a lead over the one in the next 10-15 laps, you're going to really struggle to get him.
25 laps to go at the line. And it's 10 drivers in the lead pack, and then it's another 5 or 6 in the trailing pack that is led by David Weishart. Weishart was a smidge quicker, but still a ways to go there. And I guess the notable part, he was a full 10th quicker than Reese Schaefer, but that still means he's going to need 5 or 6 laps just to get a tow.
The good thing for him is Schaefer's kind of fallen off Mason Kane, and he's a second and a half back of that lead pack. So if he can get Schaefer, if Weishart can get Schaefer, it helps him out a whole bunch more as Patrick Moose has moved into that second position. Ricky Springer trying to keep third as Moose has a run on the one.
He's going to get a fantastic voyage down the backstretch to the inside here. John Hall and Ricky Springer, they're both going to pick up where the leaders left off to the bottom. It's a shallow line there for John Hall, but a solid exit. And Moose is going to give him the benefit of the draft on the front straight as well.
Two teammates working together makes sense. Moose and Knoll were kind of pretty close to each other in points, so I'm sure they're battling each other as well, not just for second, but if one of them can win, they're going to try to make the other not the winner here. It's Shearer's poked his way into this fight. He's up to 4th. He really had a slide out of 2 that time, though, as Springer's going to have to run back.
Yeah, there goes Springer to the inside, not waiting around too long, is he?
Gonna try. I think Shearer should get this run off. And Shear having that good of a pit cycle kind of hurt the 33 as well. He was still kind of lingering top 10, but that's 7 extra points.
Well, lap traffic think that's Eric Wineland that they're navigating now. Wineland was involved in that big crash out of turn 4 early in the race. Got just absolutely walloped. He's found that right front fender and bolted it back on. He's going to pick up a spot on Pacey Wygen, most likely, who's down on pit lane, repairing some damage. Here comes John Hall, big swing to the left, had a big run and nowhere to go with it.
He'll get that draft from his teammate, and he'll try to dive hard into turn number 1, try to clear this one truck. The 38's kind of going to give some dirty air to the 03, but Noel kind of backed up the corner. I think he might be giving that to the 03 for the time being. So Hall up to second. Seth Noel is back to that 3rd position, but he's done a good enough job. If it ended this way, he'd be in a pretty decent spot. Who's really committing to that bottom line in turns 3 and 4, which I think would be better for the tires a little bit, but you just put yourself vulnerable to getting that 2nd place driver to run off the corner. So that's something you got to be careful of if you're Patrick Moose, of giving that driver that run. As still looking at that 2nd line, it's really not even a line anymore. Weishart just falling back big time. I think Jonathan Evans is going to catch this lead line, catch Reese Schaefer for 10th, but Weishart has nothing.
Yeah, they really needed to try something different, because if David Weishart wants a chance to move on, that mistake coming onto pit lane is going to define the rest of the season most likely for him, and that is such a frustrating one. You'd rather have it be someone else's mistake, because then you can't blame yourself, right? 20 laps to go for Michigan.
Unfortunately, it's a recurring theme for Weishart. What eliminated him at Kansas in the round of 12 last season was a pit road speeding penalty he could not recover from. And he didn't speed this season, but he lost a crucial track position in sliding on pit entry. And unless he gets that yellow, he's not going to be able to recover. So how long will John Hall bother to wait to try to maybe make a move on Patrick Moose? Because if Noel's still there, Noel's going to try to get those spots back. And at the same time, in Noel's situation, he almost maybe just ride this one out, because these 3 have pulled away from Shearer.
These 3 out front are just in their own zip code right now on pace. I mean, they're a couple of tenths faster than basically everyone else behind. They have separated themselves by nearly 7/10 of a second, and that gap is growing.
Jonathan Evans might have something here. He pit later than most others, and he did not really lose the time I thought he would. He's only 2 seconds off the lead. He just got into the top 10, so it's spreading out. Obviously, those top 3 getting away, but that 9 has shown considerable pace so far, and he just passed Reese Schaefer for 10th.
Yeah, he might be sort of in the Goldilocks zone, where it wasn't too late like it was for the 50, but it wasn't when everyone else pit. It's only a 2 or 3 lap difference, but that's translating to about a 3/10 of a second advantage right now. Although that time was a little slower. You've got to keep that momentum rolling if you want to hope that, because as the run goes on, the advantage of your tires, especially if it's only a couple of laps, it just evens out. They all get bad, and then you don't have your advantage in progress anymore.
You see Wygen's on fresher tires. He's going to kind of mix up that line at this point, as Ricky Springer's gotten to 4th. Edward Shear started to fade a little bit at this point, now back to about the 7th position, which for his sake he should be fine there, but definitely looked like he might have tried to overdrive early on this run to try to get track position, and not quite paying off. Jake Nichols up to 6th. Mason Kane quietly in that top 5. He has to get through Ricky Springer if he wants to get to his top 2 teammates.
And Jonathan Evans, you pointed him out, up to 9th past Brad Slaughter Jr., and a couple more tenths taken out of the lead. 1.9 back from the top spot. And 17 laps to go is not a long time, but it's not that short. He's got some time.
It's a matter of what he can do with the time that he's going to have at this point.
So dialed. You just heard the slight lift. It was a slow lift. Didn't want to upset the chassis balance. Just lifted, pointed the nose, gently turned in, gently back on throttle. Everything's really smooth for Evans this time, and he is the fastest car on the racetrack right now.
It's just going to take a lot of conservative driving, which is going to be hard to do in the last 15 laps when you're trying to make that time up. It's going to take a lot of that to keep the tires on it, and even if he gets to third, he's going to have to try to get that extra second of time away from those top three.
Well, his
we'll
other...
see if I wonder if Pacey Wygen might play a role here, because Mason Kane's pulled away from Ricky Springer a little bit, and he's going to use Wygen's draft to maybe try to pull up to these top three, and if Wygen gets in front of these top three, I could slow them up a little bit as well. It'll at least slow up Patrick Moose and put maybe dirty air on his nose, as it's going to chop the double zero a little bit. It's could be what Mason Kane needs.
The challenge, I think, for Jonathan Evans is that the advantage he has is only a tenth or two a lap, and that will go away immediately the second he starts passing trucks. So in a vacuum, I like his pace, I like the time that he's got left, but when you start introducing other traffic into the mix, it gets a lot harder. And Wygen is being a thorn in the side here, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to really mix these guys up, especially being side by side. It's really going to slow these three up. Mason Kane's within maybe 0.8 of a second of Seth Knoll, and that could be enough for draft. That time by, he was about half a tenth faster. If you get one sniff of that draft, it really changes his race, and Wygen's not even fast enough. The struggling part for these three is Wygen's just not fast enough to pass him without the 38 giving assistance.
Yeah, and while this is happening, keep in mind the 9 truck is passing trucks also. So while this lap truck is sort of interfering with this, probably to a degree that I think is inappropriate for being 6 laps down, I do think that it's going to give the 9 an advantage here and to make up some of the ground he otherwise would not have been able to do.
And right now, as things have really kind of settled down, that playoff cut line has really not been, at least at this point, not close. Daniel Day is in by 6. It's actually Casey Lakatos who's in the catbird seat points-wise, but he doesn't really have any more positions to gain. He's not too far behind, I guess, Weishart and a few others, but 6 spots, really 7 spots, because I don't believe he has a tiebreaker. It's a lot to do in this amount of laps.
Evans is tried to work by Ricky Springer, didn't get there. It's going to be between these 3, I think, unless something drastic happens. There's some more traffic to consider. 12 laps to go.
In fairness, that position Lakatos is about to get would be Daniel Day, so that would make a huge difference. That'd be a 2-point swing right there. So if Lakatos has extra pace to get some more positions, maybe from Miller and Weishart, he could get there, but it's about 4 seconds he needs to gain.
That's like if we were to get a yellow and people didn't pit, he'd be in a great spot, but I don't think that that's super likely. It's not impossible, but
yeah, at this point, everyone's taking tires.
Yeah, well, you wind the laps down too much, and I don't think you do.
3 green-white checkers. I guess that's kind of what caused the craziness in season 5.
It's a big lap, though, so maybe you're right that even in a green-white checker scenario, you still kind of want tires, because 1 and 2, it doesn't matter. 3 and 4, it will.
And notably, Daniel Day is going to lose another spot to just Anna Sogak, so he is going to be back to the 17th position. That does make things uneasy for Daniel Day. Only 3 points.
Yeah, I don't like it being that close.
He has some room back to drivers behind, but he is really off pace for whatever reason. More than he was normally, because he didn't have that great of a long run last time.
Coming to 10 laps to go in the front trio. How about Mason Kane, though, Connor? I've been watching the lap times that 31 has been running, and it has been a hair quicker than the front 3.
And I really do think Wygen mixing it up really helped him get kind of in drafting range. Even Gary Waterworth, I don't know how much of a factor he's played, but he's in this mix laps down as well. And Mason Kane's able to reel these 3 in a little bit, and Seth Knoll might have to start thinking about trying to get these positions back. And Jake Nichols, he's not as close as Mason Kane, but can't count him out yet. And Jonathan Evans has been working really hard to get Ricky Springer for 6th.
He has. He's been alongside this 51 lap after lap, and I think he's running out of steam here a little. He's still quicker than the leaders, but Ricky Springer will not let him go.
No, and it's costing both of them at this point. And Springer's position the battle for. I'm sure Evans is upset. I'm sure Ricky's thinking he should be pushing him.
Well, neither of them have a playoff contention spot to worry about. The 17 that's right behind him does, though, and he's going to drop to the inside.
That time by Mason Kane was 0.2 faster. As Evans going to shove Ricky. I don't know if it's more of a bump or if it's more like, hey, I hit you hard, I'm faster. These bumps will get harder and more mean.
Mason Kane's effectively there. As soon as they start scrapping, this 31 will be right in the middle of it.
Evans going to try to look to the inside again. I wonder if Shearer would want to help the 51 out, but that's not the main battle right now. Just waiting to see if John Hall wants to try to make any sort of move before the 31 gets there, because I think his tires are better at this point after being in mostly clean air for the most part. Evans is good. He's just not good enough. He's going to try to force the issue here, and he does. So he finally got that move done. Springer got sideways a little bit with the bump, but Evans finally gets that spot.
Yeah, too little too late, in my opinion. I think he needed to have that done 3 or 4 laps ago. And then maybe we could have talked about him being a factor, but he's got a lot of work left to do. He's only effectively gained 0.4 of a second since the last time we mentioned the gap that he had to the leaders, which was 10, 12 laps ago. And they're kind of sparring with each other here.
Yeah, I don't think Evans appreciated the attempt to pass him back. But it's racing. At this point, it's not really... I'd be shocked if he got the Nick. I mean, yeah, here we go. Here goes a race for third. Mason Kane got there. He's going to go to the inside of Seth Knoll here. I think Knoll's just going to give him the spot.
Yeah, it might... At this stage, if you got a truck that's coming that you know is faster, that you think might be able to kind of muck up the front runners, let him go. We'll see if he double assists here with a push, and it looks like he'll do just that. 6 to go.
He came in below the cut line. He's not really in a battle. He's 11 to the good, so top 5 is all fine and dandy as far as he's concerned.
John Hall putting himself in position in the catbird seat potentially. The 17, big defense on... Sorry, that was Waterworth getting out of the way. I thought that was the 17.
Waterworth, the teammate to the 73. Maybe he'll play assistance for Nichols. As Kane got really sideways there with the 1 all over the rear bumper. You don't really want to be that close to a bumper through the center of the corner. Just kind of slows down the center corner speed.
5 laps left. 10 miles.
I think if you're Knoll, you have to kind of run higher, back off his rear bumper in the corner, and then try to shove him down these straightaways. Ever since Kane got the third, he doesn't seem to have the same rear grip that he needs right now to even catch those, but the push from Knoll is keeping him there, which is what he needs.
Yeah, again, I like being third here on the last lap because the leaders are going to be so busy with each other that I don't hate being third. If you can't be leading, be third, because the second place guy has to worry about you and the leader. So 4 to go, 8 miles, we're clicking them away, and Kane, much better lap that time.
And Jonathan Evans is still blocking Ricky Springer down these straightaways. Springer's not giving that position up. Edward Shearer is just trying to follow through. He's all good where he's running right now. He doesn't want any extra drama with Drew Jua, I believe his teammate behind him. Just doesn't seem like since Kane got up there, he has what he needs in the corners. That's where he's losing too much time. He gains it back down the straightaways, but it doesn't matter if you just can't keep track in the corners. That time Knoll went to his outside. He actually got to his right rear. I don't know if that was by design or a mistake, but I think Knoll realizes it's not really worth pushing him.
No, but this is probably too late to realize that. They're going to let the 2 leaders scamper away if they spend any more time side by side. So figure this out, boys. Who is going to be the locomotive to lead this train to the station? And the 1 slipped. This is just not what they need to be doing.
No, it's pretty much going to kill him. And I think what happened to the 1 there is that John Hall ran up the track and took the 1's line away. So it's John Hall kind of playing his own defense just to keep these 2 side by side, and it worked well as Knoll's going to go up the track big time. Yeah, and it did not work that time, and now Jake Nichols is right there.
I think it would have been just better to commit to the 31, give him another push, because they've cost it and they're still fighting. So 2 laps to go, and this has now become a 2-truck race.
Well, at this point, he figures why not. I think he realized it was already over after turn number 2. We'll see if this changes John Hall's strategy. How early does he try to make this move?
John Hall's won 2 races so far this season. The first came back at Texas. The next came at Rockingham.
Whoa, there's a spin. Justina Sogak sliding in turn number 1. He's going to crash. There's trucks behind. This will surely bring out a caution. And there it is. It's out. Caution's out. Green-white checker territory. Oh, my goodness. And it was Daniel Day who got into him.
Well, this changes everything.
Daniel Day is going to be kicking himself if the points change after this. He was good where he was running.
How much of a mistake was it?
You know, they've been in a line for so many laps at this point.
Just kind of drove into the back of them there.
And it's the thing that the issue with it is that they've been running single file with the 1588 for multiple laps. So that's just a mistake. And Anasogak just couldn't save it. He's had a rough race as it is because he got in pole. I don't even think he let a lap, but this is going to be bringing full-on chaos.
He did lift, it just wasn't quite in time. It didn't look like the 88 did any like egregious overslowing or anything either. Just
that just seemed like a big mistake for sure. I think the 88 definitely lifted, but like I said, they've been on the line for so many laps like that. You kind of know where he's lifting. And I don't know if the 88 lifted at a different point, but either way, it's not worth doing. He was good. Just ride behind him and you're good.
Well,
now who knows what could happen, because you're going to see people pit. We'll definitely be seeing. I would be shocked if at least not one person tried 2 tires.
Yeah, that might be the call. I'd be willing to give the 2 tires thing a call. I don't think staying out. You know, I think you talked me out of the idea of not coming to pit lane in this scenario. I think 1 and 2, you're going to be fine. You get to turns 3 and 4, you're going to turn in and you're not going to have anything. So 2 tires is going to be enough to get you through that. Maybe not for multiple of that.
Let's see.
Do I see left sides go up? I do see some. I see some 2 though. Lots of 2.
Drew Jua, I think Brad Slaughter Jr. took 2 tires. So I see 2.
John Hall took 4, and he'll be the first one on the outside with that. Seth Knoll took 4. Mason Kane, Evans, Schaefer took 4.
And Patrick Moose notably took 4. So he got out second, but Drew Jua is going to be the control truck here. And you got Slaughter in third on 2. And I don't know if anyone else took 2. I don't think we saw much else.
No. Everybody on 4 except for the 2 that you mentioned, Jua and Slaughter Jr.
And I'm sure Jua and Slaughter were thinking, hoping more did it, but they're on an island here. But like you said, 1 and 2, they'll be fine, but it's not 1 green, white checkered where 1 yellow ends it. You got 3 to get through. It's going to be tough to keep the lead withstanding 1.
Yeah, so we're already in overtime, 95 laps scheduled. We're going to be close to 100 by the time that this sorts out. But fuel no longer a concern for anybody.
I relegate Seth Knoll to 5th. I feel like Ricky Springer lost some spots there. Mason Kane at least did not get in front of Knoll. Edward Shearer is going to get the 8th. And it's guys like Shearer and Day who caused the incident that are really worried about this green-white checkered, because everything could shift. If even Reece Schaefer, he's not safe now.
Yeah, we will know the points probably 2 minutes after the checker, officially. I don't know that it makes sense to try to jam in an update now, because in about 45 seconds it'll all be worthless anyway.
Yeah, this is...
And it is probably...
It's the last thing all these drivers wanted to see, that's for sure.
It's also probably bold to assume that we'll get these 2 laps under green and not have to go to a second green-white checkered. I think 1 and 2 will be all right. Again, 3 and 4 when everyone's up to speed and no one is going to want to lift.
I would watch for Lakatos to be trying things here. He needs all those positions, and he has 4 tires. But
33 too. I mean, David Weishart is in a similar position, and he needs to be like top 4. So he's got to be aggressive, or he needs catastrophe for some drivers in the yellow numbers.
I'm honestly surprised he didn't try to get that track position. He's usually one to do it, actually.
Yeah, I would have at this stage.
See what Drew Jua can do.
I almost would have tried none in his situation. Just go for it, because you weren't going to get there otherwise. 2 laps to go. Will we get back to the white flag? Green flag. 2 to go at Michigan.
Which didn't really go. Knoll has a run on Slaughter. He's not going to take it anywhere else. They'll be side by side for second. Well, Drew, I don't even know if Drew is going to be able to keep the lead out of turn 2.
Well, he's up through the gears, blocking the correct lane. That's the middle lane. The 38 looks left, trying to find a way around. It's all going to come down to 3 and 4. Which lane does Jua choose? Can he stunt the momentum? 3 abreast.
he has to choose the high line. He has to force Moose low. If he runs low, Moose gets to run off the corner. There's not much he can do. So he's got to pinch and pray, but John Hall's going to...
Oh, boy, the 17, middle of the field. Big wiggle out of turn 4. Will we get back to the white? They're 4 across the racetrack. 1 lap to go in Michigan, and we will get there.
Moose barely led that lap, but Jua hung in there at least one more set of corners. They made contact in the turn number 1. John Hall's committed to that 38's bumper. They're still 4 wide.
Will there be a big crash? Could this change the playoff picture? 3 wide out of turn 2. Down the back straightaway, the 33 is loose. He is not making up what he needs, and they're side by side, Jua and Moose.
And Mason Kane, big push to a 13. That's exactly what the 13 needed. He has a shot through 3 and 4. If he can get one more good push, one more good set of corners, he's loose.
And he's going to slide. He's going to crash out of turn 4. This could change everything. Huge crash at the checkers. Patrick Moose is going to win in Michigan, and trucks up and over and everywhere. And now it becomes a total crapshoot.
Exactly what Patrick Moose needed, though. He's in. Nothing to worry about for him. He is in. That was chaotic. Goodness, I did not think he was going to spin, but he just lost it. David Weissart got 7th out of that.
Lakatos 17th.
He's almost certainly out. Schaefer 8th, Shearer 9th.
Wow.
A lot of people lost 0 incident bonus points through that as well, but Patrick Moose just barely got through that. And I thought Jua had it, but I think he got the 2 tires with Mason Kane on his bumper, just loosened him up a little bit too much.
There were probably a lot of drivers that came out of turn 4 thinking that they were going to finish where they were going to finish. Some may have gained. Beckner, P11, after the horrific start to his day. I think he'll take that.
For sure. Jack Nichols is fortunate he was locked in. It probably wouldn't have mattered anyways, but you're in top 10 all night. Ends up P15. I think the issue with Weishart, he got a good finish, but drivers like Daniel Day, the drivers he was battling with, didn't really get affected too much. Schaefer and Shearer finished right behind him.
Well, let's go back and watch what we can from the tail end of this race out of turn 4 and slow this down a little bit so it's a little bit easier to digest. So there's the 13. And the 31's going to
loose right there. Then he gets hit.
Tag him.
And he just can't hang on to it. And it's pandemonium from here. Noel, his playoff life flashes before his eyes. Mason Kane goes hard to the outside wall. Jake Nichols collected, spun by Miller. And at that point, Patrick Moose has it made. There goes Lakatos, got spun by Swan. Daniel Beckner just kind of full throttled through it. But it worked out. Daniel Day slid.
The 73 took a pretty wild ride here. Wow, he got hit a bunch of times. Here's the 73 again.
Got light there, and then bam, Beckner hits him, Balliet hits him. Who else hits him here? I think he actually ran into someone. Then Balliet hit him.
He got hit like 6 separate times in this. Watch the 30 get picked up off the ground there. That's wild.
Ooh, he got light as well. Shearer just barely dodged his way through that.
And watch the 73 here when he gets turned back around. It's like Days of Thunder right there. Gosh.
Goodness.
All right, well, let's see here. Have the points been updated? They have.
For the most part.
Yep. So, well, I'm just I'm looking at the official Sim Racer Hub standings. And it looks like Patrick Moose is up. So the drivers that have been eliminated, and see if you can confirm this, Connor. I've got out Danny Ware, Matthew Batby, Casey Lakatos, and David Weishart. Out.
Yeah, definitely looks right to me. Lakatos was caught up in that crash and not get the points he needed. Batby was out early. Danny Ware pretty much needed the win tonight, but David Weishart, he did everything he could on that final restart. He got all the way to 7th, but the problem was those drivers around him in points like Reese Schaefer, Edward Shearer, and Daniel Day, they all got through as well.
I think the mistake on his part wasn't trying a riskier strategy. I mean, you know that there's a high propensity for a yellow flag there at the end, Connor. I think you had to have made a call. That was a bit more aggressive.
And it worked. The thing is, until turn 4, Jua, it worked. And he was going to finish top 5 until he got hit by the 31. So I am shocked he didn't take 2, but it's not like it worked out too horribly. He just didn't get the breaks he needed. But definitely got to go aggressive there. As you saw our finishing results, Patrick Moose wins his way into the next round. Maybe get some extra playoff points for the round of 8 as well. Beckner had a horrible day. He finished 11th through it after that crash. Daniel Day advances barely. He gets 12th position, and Danny Ware needed to win, didn't get it. Matthew Bappy was looking so good in points. He's the one that is kind of a little bit of a shocker. He's not in the round of 8.
And the rest of the finishing order there. Here at Michigan, we've got 3 drivers to chat with, the first of which is Seth Knoll, who manages to survive all the melee there at the end. Pretty frantic, I'll say, but started up front, only ran as low as 12th. I imagine that was through some of the pit stop situations, but led some laps, ran up front. You were in the yellow coming into the night. You're going to leave in the blue, at least on the ticker. You move on with a P3. Take us through your night.
Just a meh night. Track position was really important. It was nice not getting wrecked on lap 40 of the race. So all in all, a good night. Not as good as last night, but solid night. Gets us into the next round, and I get a good interview by Kyle.
That's always nice, Seth. But moving on, Iowa next time out. What do you think about that?
Honestly, no clue. Never driven the truck there since the rebuild of the truck, so I have no clue what to expect. I kind of know what to expect tonight. A little bit of pack racing, but not quite as much as last night. But it'll be interesting the next couple weeks and see if we can somehow manage to get into the Final Four.
We'll see you there, Seth. Thanks so much.
All right, appreciate you, boys.
John Hall comes home in second place tonight. John, I had you pick to win this one. Came up a couple tenths short. 0.1, actually, exactly 1/10. Started third, only ran as low as 12th. You led some laps tonight, 21 to be exact. I thought you were a favorite to win this race had we not gotten that yellow flag. Of course, that changed everything. Take us through the last few laps from your view.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to see the yellow coming off of 4 to come take the white. But I mean, it was a great race up until that. I hate to tell you, Kyle, but I was telling Dawson and Pat right before the race I was going to be a company man tonight. So I hate to break it to you that I kind of was in it to shove Pat to the win, and glad it worked out for him. He's had some really bad luck this entire season. So
next time, let me know that before I pick you. It doesn't matter. They don't track points here, thank God. Otherwise, I might have not made the next round. But hey, I mean, it was aggressive out there tonight. Up front, there was a lot of juking and jiving. What's the energy like between the drivers at the front of the field? How aggressive is it in your mind, or you just know it's all part of the game?
I mean, to be honest with you, I thought it was pretty tame up at the front to start the race. Like, once we had those first couple of yellows there, I thought the intensity was going to get turned up and it was going to be a track position race the rest of it. But once we got settled in there green for a while, I figured it was going to go green for at least to the end, but that didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, the entirety of the last run, we were all kind of just, Seth, Pat, and I were trying to just build a gap so we could settle in amongst ourselves there at the end. But no, I would say it was pretty tame up front. But if it got any more dicey there with any more overtimes, it would have gotten a little out of hand, I would say. But it is what it is.
It is what it is, and it's a second place tonight. That's what it is. John Hall in the 03 P2 in the Celsius truck. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And Patrick Moose ends up in victory lane tonight. And tonight you led 41 laps, a lot, and almost half of the ones that we ended up running, Patrick. And having a teammate there up there helped a little bit there, but the late caution, that kind of threw things up in the air for a minute. Take us through your thoughts when that yellow came out of in the last 2 laps.
Yeah, that yellow definitely scared me. So close to the white flag, but all night just hugging the bottom, saving tire, and it paid off. Huge thank you to John for helping me out. He's pretty much locked, so he knew he needed to help me.
Looking forward to the rest of the playoffs here. Of course, we've got Iowa coming up next, and then following that, we head to Kansas and Atlanta. How do you feel about your chances to make it through the next round and make that Final Four?
I feel pretty good. Iowa I'm decent at, but Kansas is where I'm really looking forward to, so excited for that race.
Well, Patrick, congratulations. P1 tonight at Michigan, and we'll see you next week at Iowa.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, Connor. Well, things have changed. Here is your playoff picture. Leaving. Nope, let's try that again. There's your playoff picture leaving Michigan. Final thoughts on this race tonight.
Michigan, showed its chaos side, but it did happen early in the race as well, and we had our struggles, especially Travis Beckner, because he kept getting caught up in everything, but he had the points gap to survive, just like John Hall did, but it was chaos after that. Matthew Bappy, I thought he'd be pretty good. I thought he'd be a Final Four pick, but it ends here at Michigan prematurely for him, and it was a really solid race up until that green-white checkered. Even the green-white checkered was pretty fun. The chaos in turn 4 coming to the line, you can't really say that's not going to happen. It's always going to happen. And that two-tire call, Drew Jua, my pick, almost won. He actually had a good run to the line. Mason Kane a little bit too close to the bumper, and all heck broke loose, but did not change the playoff cut line at that point. I think Weishart's still going to be kicking himself for that pit road penalty. He was looking good until that, but now we have our 8 drivers trying to race all the way to Atlanta.
And we're heading to Iowa next week. My pick almost won, too. He comes home second place tonight, John Hall does, but he'll move on to the next round of the playoffs. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on Sim TV. We'll see you Thursday for the Florida State Builders Area Pro Series right here from Michigan.